job.
It wouldn't be a tax amendment for sure, and that, Gene's talking about, we maybe want to do that, but that's not before us right now. I think the decision before you right now is to decide if demolition derby cars are collector cars pursuant to the current resolution, and the other alternative would be not to grant it at all, and that would be an option, but the other would be to grant a conditional use permit only for the ones who qualify for the collector cars, and then any race cars or demolition derby cars would not be included under the conditional use permit. And I don't see how they could be anything but a zoning violation under the current violation. But I'll defer. That's not really before the commission right now. We can talk about that later. But I think that's the choice here. You have three choices right now.
Okay. So let me ask a question. If I turn around, do I see a bus and some old, from where this picture is, if I turn around and look east, do I see a bus and some trailers parked on the other side of the road?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. I think there are, at one point, there were some camper equipment, and I believe also a bus, which was down at the foot of the hill, further down. And those don't belong to Mr. Day. So we've tried to enlarge this somewhat, and we actually put some larger, more close-up photographs in the packets. But we're looking at this accumulation just right along that ridge line. This is Sandrift Circle looking southeast, and again, it's you can't really see the property. You can see a building up there, but you're not seeing the cars at that point. And here is Sandrift Circle and Opal, the southeastern view. Opal Street, the east view. And now we're looking at some background information. And as I think is well known, August 2nd, 2011, Natrona County adopted the collector car storage regulations, added them to the zoning resolution. Text amendment does allow collector car storage as a limited conditional use in 9 zoning districts in Natrona County. The key issue, should the county approve a conditional use permit allowing an area for non-commercial dismantling and storage of one or more collector cars on an 8.18 acre tract in suburban residential zoning. The SR zoning district has, of course, been described, and we've pointed that out in the earlier maps. We have to look at the general requirements for conditional use permits. Number one, granting the conditional use permit will not contribute to an overburdening of county services. Our finding of fact is that the proposed CUP will not contribute to an overburdening of county services because the applicant does not require any additional county services. Number two, granting the conditional use permit will not cause undue traffic, parking, population density, or environmental problems. The finding of fact is that the proposed conditional use permit will not cause undue traffic, parking, population density, or environmental problems. And it's because the applicant is in a semi-rural neighborhood, is relatively remote, it's not a business, which would tend to attract traffic on the roads. Collector car storage and associated collector car restoration, typically not viewed as posing an environmental hazard, and the reason for this is that under the regulation as it has been drafted, we are allowed, with the permission of the landowner and with the presence of the landowner, not more than 2 times to visit the property each year. In case we did that and found spillage, for example, of motor oil or gasoline or other fluids, which would indicate an environmental problem, that would probably become a Department of Environmental Quality issue fairly quickly. Number 3, Granting the conditional use permit will not impair the use of the adjacent property or alter the character of the neighborhood. And we note here in the finding of fact that although the conditional use permit will not likely impair the use of adjacent property, it is quite possible that the physical presence of a vehicle accumulation could alter the character of the neighborhood. We've noticed on the other hand that in this general vicinity there are numerous accumulations of vehicles. So it comes down, in the end, it comes down likely to a zoning, or not a zoning, a screening problem. It's probable here that the presence of vehicle accumulations, even though screened from view, may alter neighborhood character in a detrimental way. Number 4, granting the conditional use permit will not detrimentally affect the public health, safety, and welfare or nullify the intent of the land use plan or the zoning resolution. Based on all of the foregoing things that we've already discussed, there won't be a detrimental effect to public health, safety, and welfare, and it will not nullify the intent of the land use plan or the zoning resolution, both of which allow collector car storage in 9 zoning districts. These are specific requirements for collector car storage. We'll have we've had the general requirements already going through this, this list. Applicants must demonstrate that an approved screening plan will be implemented on the property to be covered by the collector car storage conditional use permit. They've got to initiate the process within 180 days of the grant. Once they've been granted the conditional use permit, they must begin within 180 days. Now that number was discussed fairly extensively in the beginning. I'm sure many of you remember those particular discussions.
And Gene, when must they finish the screening?
That's at the determination, as we will see, of the Board of County Commissioners to select a date certain for completion of this. This 180 days, of course, you know, we're looking here at 6 months. This time of the year, those months may be snowing. The ground may be frozen, and that could pose a problem not only for the Board of County Commissioners, but for the applicant as well. So we try to take those things into consideration when we address the issue. What we're screening against is adjacent properties, and we're screening against any road which is within a quarter mile of the subject property, and that's part of the reason for the photographs that we've taken from 1/4 mile distance. The finding of fact here is that Sandrift Circle, Sandrift Court, Scorpion Street are the only public roads that are within a quarter mile of applicant's boundaries. Implementation of the screening plan consisting of a solid privacy fence will be accomplished within 180 days. They'll be able to get it started, we're sure, within 180 days, and perhaps even make better progress. This is the screening that Mr. Day is proposing. He has delivered to us, and I think you have in your paperwork a design for how they want to space the cars and where they want to place them, generally within a 100 by 100 foot square containment area. And this fence or panel, if you wish to call it that, is 8 feet tall. To my eye, it appears to be approximately 8 feet wide as well. It looks pretty much square to me and not rectangular. I may not have that width exactly right, but I think it's reasonably close. Number 2, the specific requirement here is that for all applications, the applicants must demonstrate that there is sufficient acreage on the property, sufficient acreage to be covered by the CUP. space to accommodate the proposed accumulation of collector cars. The proposed finding of fact here is that the applicant estimates and does request a maximum number of 40 collector cars on the 8.18 acre property. A lot of square feet in that area. These are the required findings of the Board of County Commissioners, and you'll note here that all general requirements for conditional use permits must be met by the applicant. That was that numerical list of overburdening county services, character of the neighborhood, all of those things must be met. Specific requirements, number 2 is specific requirements for collector car storage conditional use permits have been met by the applicant, and primarily that amounts to the screening plan itself and indicating, offering evidence to show that there is room for the number of cars that they're talking about. And we think they've indicated that actually in the layout drawing which they've presented. Number 3, the Board of County Commissioners shall determine the maximum number of collector cars that may be stored on the property covered by the collector car storage conditional use permit. The applicant has requested 40 cars. You noted from the earlier photographs that there probably aren't quite 40 there at this point in time, but it appears to be pretty close to that number. And finally, number 4, the Board of County Commissioners shall set a date certain by which time the approved screening plan has got to be fully achieved. It's not a mere implementation, but it's looking down the road and making a determination what is a reasonable time, or what is the time that you feel is most applicable to the circumstances. So the Planning and Zoning Commission acted unanimously. There was one commissioner absent. They did recommend approval by the Board of County Commissioners of this conditional use permit to allow an area for non-commercial dismantling and storage of 1 or more collector cars on an 8.18 acre tract in suburban residential 1 zoning. The alignment of certain cars, and this was one of the points made by the Planning and Zoning Commission, was to please align collector cars in some proper order in accordance with the submitted site plan before commencing the screening installation. Now this was offered by the Planning and Zoning Commission as a part of their recommendation. Staff recommends that the findings of fact that we set forth here in this PowerPoint be incorporated in the motion by reference and made a part of it. And I'm happy to, well, I think there's one more slide here. We did have one public comment in support of this accumulation, and 3 public comments in opposition to the condition. I'm sorry for the delay. Collector cars are defined as any inoperable or unlicensed vehicle which was previously licensed for highway use, including parts cars, having historical or economic appeal to the individual accumulating the cars, and which are stored and maintained in a manner which emphasizes preservation of the vehicles and prevents or minimizes their physical deterioration. Now, I think that perhaps as we've previously discussed in this particular case, we have 2 types of vehicles out look closely at the photographs that you have, you'll see pickup trucks, some other cars of various makes and models and what have you. And in addition to that, it so happens that the applicant is a participant in demolition derby. Now, this is a distinct thing. We believe this is not, it does not meet the definition, as I've just read, of a collector car in some cases.
I see that the Day's house is on the property. Are the junk cars or collector cars within sight of their house? Where they live?
I don't believe so. Mr. Day is in the audience, and I'm sure he can answer that question better than me. As I went out to that site and went up the hill, I could see his house looking to the left, but I couldn't see the cars until I got to the top of the hill. And when I was at the top of the hill, if I looked back, his house is lower on the opposite slope. So my take on it is that he can't look out his window and see those cars unless he might, under some circumstances, just have some parked up there, but the bulk of them is along that ridge.
And you mentioned that the, I believe, soon to be sold property to the north would likely be able to see the collection. Is that correct?
Well, that's my take, because demolition derby vehicle is just simply not going to work anymore.
So the proposal is that the commissioners include demolition derby cars in the definition of collector cars, and have to make that finding, or the other option would be they grant a conditional use permit and it only includes collector cars and excludes demolition, the race cars and derby cars. Is that correct?
Well, Mr. Knight, I certainly defer to the board on that decision. It does not meet the preservation definition.
That's what I mean. What you're presenting is that decision, whether they make the decision to include them in with collector cars, or make a determination that we're going to approve a conditional use permit, which would only apply for the historic vehicles, and the demolition derby cars would not be included, would have to be removed.
And I would offer, in addition, that those kinds of hobbies which don't meet the definition may, at some point down the road, have to be dealt with in a different way. Does it rise to the level of being a zoning violation? We don't really address them that way.
On October 1st, 2014.
Okay, you want to use October 1st, 2014?
That would be fine.
And does your motion also include that he has to align the collector cars before the screening is put in place?
Well, yes, I would say this. You can align them,
Okay, we've got a motion out there. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
The commission would entertain just screening the three sides, which practical, really, screening apparently is provided by both sides.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that when you get the three sides done, have the code enforcement officers go out there and look.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's all right, then work with him, and if not, then you'll have to fence it. But do the three sides and then get a hold of code enforcement.
Okay. Do you, in this, sorry, I missed one thing. Do we want to address the issue derby cars versus collector cars?
I would say they're the same thing almost.
I would only respond to the motion. To the
Is that part of
an amendment.
Yeah,
to the
that's
first
part of
motion.
the motion that there was, I consider collector
You
cars.
don't don't have to address the issue.
Okay.
If it isn't addressed, that's part of the motion. And if I don't hear a motion that for consideration of anything different, we're gonna consider derby cars the same as collector cars. Okay? Any further discussion? Further discussion, we have a motion in front of us. The motion is that all conditional use permits have been met by the applicant. All the requirements of collector car conditional storage unit have been met by the applicant. The commissioners have determined a maximum of 40 collector cars on the property. That the screening plan will be completed by October 1st, 2014, and that the collector cars will be aligned in order before the screening plan is instituted, and some flexibility is provided to code enforcement to determine whether or not screening on the force side is necessary. We understand the motion. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.